Hi, I'm the little handyman. I've got a little hand. Today I'm going to show you how I made this exotic wood lamp. This lamp is made of a couple of pieces of scrap that I had laying around the shop for over a year. It's really hard to throw away those pieces of exotic wood because they're so expensive, but a lamp is a great application. This one is made out of mahogany and purpleheart. Purpleheart's really interesting because it's a wood that's naturally purple. So please stick around and see how this all comes together. These are the two pieces of lumber that are going to be used for my lamp. There's an 8/4 piece of purpleheart and a 4/4 piece of mahogany. Both pieces had some rough faces on them, so I'm going to send them through my thickness planer to clean them up. I want the purpleheart to be the same thickness as its width, so I keep rotating it 90 degrees on each pass until I've cleaned up every face, but taking very light passes. I take a few light passes just to clean up each face of the mahogany as well. The purpleheart is cross-cut to 11.5 inches at the table saw, and this is going to be my lamp's post. The mahogany is cut to 3.5 inches square for the base plate. I use the same stop so that I can keep the cuts for the length and the width exactly equal. Diagonal lines help locate the center of the base plate. And then to mark out the location of the mortise, I'm going to use this bench square. It helps keep an equal distance from each edge. That way my mortise is centered. The mortise is going to be 1.25 inches and it's going to be a square. And I use a slightly undersized Forstner bit to remove material from the mortise. This one is 1 1/8 inches, and it's the first time I've used this drill bit. Then I drill a 3/8 inch hole all the way through the base plate, and this is going to allow the cord to pass through. Time to chisel out this mortise. The mortise is only 1/4 inch deep, and I used a wide chisel to set the edges of the mortise by pressing in along the lines that I had just drawn. Then I use a smaller chisel to eat away small pieces, starting from the center and working back to my line. A better way to do this would be to use a smaller Forstner bit and drill 4 holes so you can remove more of the waste that way. But I was just excited that I could finally use my 1 1/8 inch Forstner bit. And anyways, with only one mortise, chiseling is fun. That offcut is going to come in real handy. I'm going to use it to dial in my table saw so I can get an exact fit for the tenon on my lamp post. And once I'm sure that it fits nice and tight, I can cut into my lamp post for real. With one tenon, it's going to go pretty quickly, and I just have to keep rotating it because every shoulder is cut exactly the same. Not too shabby. And I just want to make sure that it fits and that it's nice and tight. So I go ahead and whack it in. Well, then maybe a couple extra whacks for good measure. And I use my rabbiting block plane to clean up the uneven shoulders on my tenon. Now for a lot of drilling. To locate my hole, I'm using the hole in the base plate as a guide. I'm also using these hand screw clamps to help stabilize the lamp post while it's sitting on end. Drilling through a piece this tall means foregoing the use of my drill press's table and instead supporting the workpiece on some wood blocks. With a hole this deep, there's a lot of friction, so I keep my drill press on its lowest speed. Time to break out the big drill bit. This is a 12-inch long drill bit. I was really excited about getting to break this guy out again. How often do you need a hole to go this deep? My drill press can only go so far, so I keep drilling as far as I could, stopping to raise the wood up on the drill bit, and then repeating this over and over again. Eventually, I had to drill into the other side so I could have a clean hole on the top of my lamp post. Okay, so there are a lot of ways to get this hole all the way through this post. I chose to drill the hole because I have a 12-inch long drill bit that I don't get to use very often, and I wanted to play around with it. A better, probably simpler way to do this whole process would be when your post is still in its rough size, to cut it at the bandsaw all the way down the middle. Then you would take your router and cut a groove all the way along both faces and then glue those back together. A couple of drawbacks with that. One, when you cut those two pieces apart, you're going to have a rough face that's just been cut. And when you glue it back together, those won't go back together perfectly. So you'd want to smooth those out, say with a hand plane or running it over a jointer. That's going to remove more wood. So when you glue it back together, it's not going to look like a piece of solid wood unless you get really lucky with the grain lines. So I chose not to do it that way, but definitely the main reason was so I could play with my long drill bits. I cut a 15-degree chamfer on the base plate at the router table, and I used my parallel clamp to control the base plate and keep my fingers a safe distance from the router bit. Then I use a cove bit at the router table to cut a groove for the cord. This is the finished result. I then put a chamfer on all edges of the post. The post is big enough that I can control it with push blocks at the router table. These are 45-degree chamfers here. Then I sand everything. First 80, then 120, and finally 220 grit sandpaper. On the Purpleheart, I make sure to sand away any spots where the planer left some tear out. I sand the chamfers by hand. The wood block helps me keep a crisp edge. And the hand screw clamp comes in handy on these small parts too. I am gluing this together with epoxy because so much of the glue surface is ingrained and that would drink up wood glue and have a really weak bond. I clamp it together and let it rest overnight so the epoxy can cure. And then for the finish, I applied 4 coats of spray lacquer, and this really brings out the color of the Purpleheart. Look at it shine. Alright, so our lamp post is finished. All the finish is on there and it's fully dry, so we're ready to assemble our lamp. I got this lamp kit off of Amazon and we're going to attach it to our post. First thing we're going to do is drive in this bolt here that has a hole in it. It's going to hold our socket and our harp and everything together and attach to our post. There's 2 ways we could attach this. One is we could drill a larger hole in the top of the post and get some epoxy, put it in there, let it set, let it dry, and then it's in there very firm. That's definitely what you want to do if your hole is not actually perpendicular, because that way you have some adjustability and can get this so it's straight up and down. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to attach this to my drill and drive it on in, because I know my hole is good and straight since we drilled it at the drill press. So this is sped up. I actually drove this bolt in at half of this speed. Then I thread the cord up through the post. If this is proving difficult, try dragging it through with a fishing line. I then assembled the lamp parts. Make sure to get everything on the bolt before attaching the wires, or else you'll be wiring this thing together twice. On this lamp kit, the wires were identical, so I just picked one to attach to the gold screw and attach the other one to the silver screw. It's fairly straightforward. You don't need an electrical engineering degree for wiring a lamp. And the last step was to attach the harp. All right, and so with that, our lamp project is done. This was a fun, quick build. I could have probably knocked it out in 2 hours if I weren't filming, other than waiting for things to dry. So give it a shot. This was a great way to use up some of my scraps I had laying around and use the drill bits I don't get to use very often. So I enjoyed that.
You don't have to use Purpleheart. You could use any wood. It's not the most fun wood to work with, but it's pretty fun to look at least for now. Eventually, it's going to turn brown and be ugly. But right now, I have a beautiful lamp. So please like and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, knowledge is a power tool.